For my blind date with a cookbook, I picked a book that was listed as canning. When I unwrapped it, my book was titled The Better Home and Garden's Home Canning Cookbook. This book contains a number of sections on how to can different items such as meat, vegetables, and fruit spreads such as jams and jellies. The reason I selected that category is because I am a home canner. A few years back, I decided I would try my hand at canning food. I decided to enter some canned goods at the Iowa State Fair. What started as entering just the jam categories eventually morphed into entering each of the 180 plus categories, which include different types of jams, jellies, conserves, preserves, butters, fruits, marmalades, sauces, vegetables, and meats. I chose this recipe. The recipe I chose is cranberry jelly because I can enter this into the other jelly category. Jellies are very specifically different from jam, and they're made using fruit juice and do not have pieces of fruit like jam does. So this is why this recipe calls for cranberry juice cocktail, 3.5 cups, 4 cups of sugar, a 1/4 cup lemon juice, and a box of pectin. Since for competition you're supposed to be doing your own juicing and not using pre-juiced materials, I juiced some cranberries myself. I found a method online that suggested washing cranberries. I used about 2 pounds. I used a hand blender then to puree the berries and mixed in a cup of sugar and a juice of 2 lemons. The sugar is important because it allows you need a certain amount of sugar to have the jam set. And since cranberry juice cocktail that you find at the market already has extra sugar in it, I wanted to add a little sugar here before the later 4 cups. I mixed that with the lemon juice and the sugar and then covered this and let macerate for 30 minutes. Then put it in a pot and cooked it over medium for 30 minutes. I didn't like the amount of juice that was coming out of it, so I found another method that used water as well with the remaining pulp. I did that, and then I poured it all into a jelly bag to strain it, which is the special tool that is used to really strain away every solid that you don't want in your jelly. After this, I measured the juice. I used bulk pectin powder instead of a small box of pectin. I found using this bulk pectin about 6 tablespoons is what it takes to set up like a single box of pectin. I also measured out 4 cups of sugar. After measuring these, I washed lids, jars, and rings. The lids are single use. The jars and rings I've reused. You just have to wash them and sanitize them. To sanitize the jars, I ended up putting them in a canner with hot water brought to a boil for 10 minutes. Sanitizing times are going to vary based on jar size, recipe, elevation of your location. So please go online, look at some USDA approved recipes to get some guidance on that. While the jars were sanitizing, I mixed together the cranberry juice and pectin powder in a pot and brought it to a boil. And then once it boiled, I poured in all the sugar at once and then brought that back to a boil for 1 minute. Then I took it off the heat and I used a jar funnel to fill the jars. And then I used this tool that's specially made to measure headspace in the jars. For this recipe and most jellies and jams, you want a 1/4 inch headspace. I filled each jar that full and wiped the top of the jars with a damp paper towel and then applied the flat lids and the rings. Tightened the lids to fingertip tight, and then I put the jars back in the canner, covered with hot water, and brought it back to a boil. You boil the jars for 5 minutes and then turn off the heat. I let them sit in the canner for a few minutes to cool and then pulled them out. And then they're going to sit overnight. After sitting overnight, I'm going to make sure these are sealed. Sealed jars can stay on the shelf for at least a year or longer. And once they're opened, like any product, it must be refrigerated. So that is how you will make your cranberry jelly and can it to make it shelf stable.